Yep, Teko Harmon, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Avid lover of sneakers, everything fresh, and I guess you can call me a collector of sorts. You know, from sneakers aspect, again, I've always been into, what I like. Always buy what you like. I mean, it's kind of hard, especially nowadays, not to kind of fall towards hype. But back then and growing up, it was just what you knew, right? And I mean, I got something today with me we can talk about here in a bit, but it was what I knew from family, around friends. And then as I got older, started experiencing the culture and really getting into sneakers and footwear and the story. And it was what attracted me every single time. So, huge. To me, and I know we talked about it before, I always hate the connotation of sneakerhead because it sounded like crackhead, right? But I mean, a guy or girl or person that, has sneakers on their brain, right? It's more of a lifestyle, right? As opposed to a fad. A lot of people, you're gonna have with any type of collectible or niche market, you have those people that are in it for the money and you have those people that are in it for the love. So to me, a sneakerhead is a combination of all of those things kind of encompassed in one. Not at all. The biggest thing with that, like I said, in today's world, it just sometimes has such a negative connotation. It's almost like this rarity that, oh wow, like these individuals or these group of folks are this way about one particular thing, right? Like for me, sneakers have always been a conversation piece. And it's deeper than just what came out last week or what's on my feet today, right? For me, it was, wow, that's a fresh pair of kicks. Let me talk to my man or talk to old girl and see, how they like it or where they like it. So to me, that conversation piece of always bringing individuals together from all different backgrounds has been huge. And I think somewhere in today's world, sometimes that gets lost with the word sneakerhead because it always just seems like hype, right? Absolutely. I mean, we see that a lot with, your guys and girls that grew up with you that love sneakers and now they're shop owners, right? They have mom and pop spots. You see those individuals that grew up and, necessarily everybody wanted their own particular Jordan, their own particular Nike shoe, but now they work for a brand, right? And you mentioned forward movement, like those individuals are really help push the culture, right? With business and anything and any corporation, of course, you have those people that are there for the logistical side of things and the analytics, but then you also need to have those individuals that are, in a term reference to sneakerhead, to actually have the passion behind what they're doing, right? Because to bring out a shoe is one thing, to bring out something that's dope and that's comfortable and that people are gonna actually like to sell is a whole other thing. So I agree completely. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely a lifestyle, right? I was the kid always and the guy always that, never really cared about the fashion sense as far as, what the newest trend of, the latest jacket or freshest pair of denim jeans were. Like, I didn't care about any of that stuff. Me personally, I'd rather have a fresh pair of kicks, right? And I like to have multiple pairs of fresh pair of kicks just because that's a go-to, right? Like, it always starts from foot, foot first and foot up. So, if your kicks are lame or they dirty and they ain't crisp, that's a whole other thing, man, as far as the ladies go. They ain't looking at you, man. You had a fresh shit on top and your bottoms and denims is dope, but yeah, what are those? Like, come on, man. So yeah, for me, it was always feet first. It's definitely a lifestyle. I think for me early on, very young age, probably when I was around like 5 or 6 years old. It's funny because I got a picture of myself when I was 1 year old, actually holding like an OG waffle racer as like a baby. I think it was one of my like uncle's dirty shoes or something like that. And then fast forward to like 91, when Jordan and MJ won his first championship, my uncle was huge on like Jordan 6s. So a lot of times I spent back in the day with my uncle watching sports and would always see him with a fresh new pair of 6s on. And at the time, I didn't really know, like, I knew they were Jordan shoe, but I was like, dang, my uncle is just this cool guy with this fresh pair of kicks and they're coming in different colors. And I got the same story like everybody else, right? Like shoveling snow and, parents telling you, no, you can't get these expensive shoes, right? We all got that story. But for me, that tipping point was then. And then once I got old enough to actually start saving some money, believe it or not, fast forward, my first purchase actually when I was in middle school was actually Air Jordan 12, black and red 12s, OGs. So it was crazy. I think I finished putting my last post inside the dirt for this deck I was building for my neighbor. And, back in the day when you could actually call a store, and I think I copped the shoes from Athlete's Foot out at Oakland Mall in Troy. And I remember calling, I was like, hey, do you guys have like a 10.5 or 11 of these? And the guy's like, yeah, let me see. Yeah, we got one. The same story story of, oh, I'm on my way, can you hold it? Well, we're not supposed to hold it, but if you can get here kind of thing. I was covered in like dirt, green jogging pants, dirty white t-shirt, walking straight through the mall, and ended up getting there and getting the purchase. And that's, you know, actually when people used to go to a mall or a store and buy a sneaker and walk out with it, that was one of the first times I actually did that. And from there, it took off, man. Yeah, so I brought along the Air Jordan 6. This is actually a 20-year-old sneaker, so this is the very first retro of the Jordan 6 black infrared colorway. So a lot of people that may or may not know the story, this is Jordan's first championship sneaker in 1991. The original shoe released in 91, and this was the first retro that released in 1999. So this bad boy is actually 20 years old, right? It's been retroed a couple times, obviously, in packs with the infrared pack and black varsity red. Shout out to you, Don. And you know, I loved all of those and those concepts, right? But as time went on and as the shoes, you know, became and the economy became, you know, less materials, going cheap, not as great, this was one of the better retros to me. I remember picking up probably 3 pair of these. And this would have been, dating myself, but this would have been my senior year in high school that I actually rocked a pair of these bad boys, and people just went nuts, right? And like I mentioned before, sports and MJ growing up as a kid, you know, I physically got to see him play a couple games when he was with the Bulls, got to see him when he would come here and rock the Pistons with the Wizards. So to have like his first championship sneaker with the Nike Air branding, which was so huge to me, is a dope thing, man. So I had to bring one of these, as you know, some might call it a grail, but it's just a sneaker that, again, back to, you know, watching sports with my uncle and always seeing him fresh in every pair and couldn't get them back in the day, and now being able to have them, you know, and got them. I literally grabbed every pair I could. It's a combination of things, right? Like, I mean, thinking of like Kadeem Hardison and White Men Can't Jump, right? Like just thinking of the black infrareds that he had on back in the day. The style of the sneaker, right? Like this is when I started figuring out that there were a bunch of different like Easter eggs. And I mentioned earlier to you about themes on sneakers. I absolutely love when there's like a story, whether they just made it up or it actually went into the design cue. Because to me, there was a thought process behind it. It just wasn't there. Like a lot of people don't know, on the sneaker itself, like there's an actual 2-3 branding on the side. So if you notice, like the 2 kind of starts back here, and then the 3 kind of goes here on the sneaker. So a lot of people don't know that in the eye state. So that's one like little hidden cue, right? Things like the back of the pull tab is from Mike's German car. It's a spoiler on the back from like a sneaker, right? You look at the tongue, right? And they actually had the holes. This is actually a functional piece when people would actually hoop in J's. You go to put your foot inside the shoe. This was actually a functional piece that Tinker used for the sneaker. So things like that, man, are just super dope, alongside of the connection, again, from you know, my uncle is just is crazy. So Defining Moments pack, or DMP pack, gold box, Jordan 11, Jordan 6. That particular shoe, I remember, you know, release calendars and things had been out at the time that shoe was available. And I'm a guy that does not like to pay over retail, by the way. I'm retail and under kind of guy, right? Like I've built a lot of relationships to be able to be fortunate enough to get stuff either for retail or way under. And it's nothing against anybody that pays over resale, right? Buy what you like, right? If you like the shoe enough to spend 100, 2, 3, or 4 times its worth, do it, do you. But for me, as far as story-wise, it's crazy because the DMP pack, I remember being on Nike Talk and not even thinking about looking at the current release or anything, but was just on and looked at a forum post and was like, yo, Defining Moments package released tomorrow. I'm like, whoa, tomorrow? And this is a time where, you know, all my Detroit people will know when Northland Mall was still up and functioning back in the day. And it's crazy because there was a Mr. Allen's over there, which I think is still over there off of Southfield Road and 10 Mile. And what ended up happening is I got up super early, and super early meaning like 6:30. Get to Allen's, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna just go see, right? I hear it's a $295 pack, right? $300, can you believe that? $295 for the pack. And let me just go and check it out. So I get to Allen's, 7:30, 7:45, 2 guys in line. I'm like, oh, this ain't even gonna be a bigger release. I got this, right? As soon as I go to turn around, I think grab my bag, 12 other cars pull up. People start jumping out. I'm like, oh shit, let me jump out now, right? Get in line and get into Allen's eventually. With about 20 minutes later, asked for my size. My size is 11 all day. And they had 11 behind the counter. And I was like, cool, right? And I'm thinking you can just buy one pair. It still really hasn't clicked, right? I'm just thinking like, okay, got this pack, cool, right? And then I'm seeing the same cats that were in line, 15 minutes ago in front of me, they came back in for another round. So then it started to click like, oh, wait a minute, these might be going for something. Like I initially bought it just to get it for me, not to flip, not to resell, but I saw it and I'm asking Buddy like, hey, yo, y'all got more pairs? He's like, oh yeah, we just letting people get as many as they want, but we're letting everybody get a pair. So by the time I would go jump back in line, it was already too late. Zipped over to Northland. I was like, let me just go see, right? At the time, you had, Foot Action, you had Athlete's Foot, you had Foot Locker, Lady Foot Locker, Champs, right? You had about 5 or 6 different, stores within Northland. Get into Northland, and Northland is a totally different story, right? Because by this time, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, right? And people are up and knowing. I see a buddy of mine from around the way. He's standing in the center of the mall, and he's got a bag. So imagine like a big, clear, translucent trash bag of the packs all around him. And he's passing out money to the little homies. He done brought everybody from the hood to go stand in line at each one of the stores. And he's got gold boxes everywhere. I can't make this up. He's got gold boxes everywhere. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, one, I was kind of pissed because I'm like, yo, why you didn't hit me up and let me know this was coming out? And then two, bruh, how many of these you gonna buy? And he like, bro, I got motherfuckers at every station, everywhere, getting these bad boys. So long and short, I'm like, let me see if I can get a pair. I'm not one for lines, right? I got a pair secured in my car. I was like, just for the hell of it, let's go and see. So I get into, I stood in line in finish line and got in the finish line. And it's funny because I went to go get another size 11. I'm like, well, fuck it, let me just double up. And my man's like, hey, all I got is a 10.5 left. The exact guy that had the 11 in front of me was a young kid with his grandma. And he's like trying to shoe on and he's got his foot trying to dig inside the foot. And she's like, does that fit? He slid his foot up. Yeah, these are good, but they're way too big, right? And then he's like, oh, you need an 11? He's got the 11. He's like, oh, do you want these, man? Young boy. I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you're not going to get them, I'll take the 11. He's like, yeah, that's cool. And I'm in line the whole time. I got an old school vintage Jordan jersey on. It's a cat from Canada in line that offers me $120 for my shirt right off my back. It was the old school Jordan, like how to fly shirt, which is like a black shirt with all the writing on it. Stupid, not thinking, because I'm in the mall, I'm like, nah, bruh, I don't even want to take this shirt off. I ain't got another shirt on, knowing I could have bought a 5 for 20 tee, right? But got the pair, secured the pair, and it's crazy, man. I ended up selling it like years down the line, probably for about $1,700, which is nuts. And then kept another pair back, so. Yep, 1,700 had to go. $295 turned into 1,700 years later, so I would say that's a come up.